Hey there, welcome to the Astro Psyche. This is your weekly astrology for August 21st through the 27th. This week, we kind of have a lot going on. We have a mix of energy. We have some energy around slowing things down and contemplating. We also have some energy around creativity and trying new things. So it's a little bit of an eclectic mix. My name is Shauna McGrath. I'm a psychotherapist and astrologer, and I'm excited to share the astrology of this week with you so that we can make the most out of this week. So, where to start? Okay, so we have Mars this week in Virgo. Mars has been in Virgo for a little bit. It will be opposing Neptune. So Mars is about confrontation, moving forward, action. It's about being assertive and even physically active to some extent as well. Now, when Mars is opposite Neptune, it is being diffused and sensitized by Neptune. So Neptune is the unseen world. It's a symbol of altered states of consciousness. It's a symbol of fantasy and illusion and imagination and creativity. Neptune is even associated with film and cinema because it's an illusion. And so there's this theme here around our sense of action and being able to meet something very directly, which is Mars, meeting with the planet that is about softening and blurring things and making things kind of like, in one way, maybe very inspirational and very intuitive, but then in another way, possibly creating some illusion or confusion. Now, this being an opposition, it usually tells us that there's this energy around it feeling like this or that, like there's conflicting options, like we can only do this thing or we can only do that thing. And I think this is especially interesting that it's Mars in Virgo, Virgo is about discernment and like being very practical and very clear about where things are going and how things are going, and having a clear model or method of going forward. This is Mars in Virgo. And then Neptune is like, let's just see how we feel and see how things go, and let's use our intuition and let's not really do anything about it right now. So all of this to say that usually when we have Mars opposite Neptune, there's a lower energy, there's lower what am I trying to say here? There's a lower energy level. Like, so we may simply feel like we need more downtime this week, like we need more space and time to act. We are in the waxing moon phase, so following the new moon in Leo last week. So there is this theme around moving forward and allowing things to grow and elaborate. And Mars Neptune is kind of about like taking a slower and more intuitive approach to life, and keeping in mind that things may not be as they seem, that Neptune can kind of like skew our perception a bit. Of course, this is great when we're using it for imagination and fantasy, but if we're trying to do practical things, it can kind of make it a little challenging. Now, another piece of this is that in this process, Mars will also trine Pluto in like Pluto's still in the very late degrees of Capricorn. And so this allows an initiation toward healing, toward catharsis, towards exposing something, Pluto, that maybe has been a bit challenging. And I really like the Mars trine Pluto, because trine is where things flow easily with harmony and grace, and there's like this effortless healing that can happen in this process. So sometimes it's a mix. Life is a mix, right? Things are not all one way. So it may be that there's like a little bit of like fatigue or confusion, but that there's this healing process in here as well with Mars. So healing process around our sense of assertiveness and our ability to take action and to confront things. This is very Mars. Now, also this week we have, okay, like before I leave Mars, also at the end of the week, Mars is going to move from Virgo into Libra. So on Sunday, Mars moves into the sign of Libra. And so there's kind of this like maybe fog with the Neptune throughout most of the week. And then when Mars moves into Libra, it's like, okay, it's turned off the hose of the Neptune ocean situation. And then we have our action and assertiveness and boldly moving forward more in the sign in the area around relationships, which is Libra. And we'll talk more about that as we go forward. So again, just kind of like this change. Also this week we have Venus, which is still retrograde in Leo. So Venus retrograde in Leo, square Uranus. And this has been a big part of the Venus retrograde process because Venus has been in the general realm of a square to Uranus. I made a square to Uranus before it went retrograde, and now it's doing it again. So there's a lot of Venus retrograde stuff that involves Uranus. Uranus is about liberation, freedom, being eclectic, doing things differently, totally changing the status quo. Uranus is an impulse towards freedom. Uranus is an impulse toward change. And this aspect is very creative as well. It's very creative, it's very intuitive. Folks who have this aspect, Venus, Uranus, in their birth chart, they tend to be very creative, eclectic, avant-garde. They have very creative ideas, and they really think about things differently. There's a strong sense of aesthetic as well. And so this week, we all get to experience this energy of an infusion of creativity into our lives. Now, depending on how this is landing in your chart, this can be an impulse to change something in your life, whether that is more Venusian themed around relationships or money or something around your values, how you value and spend your time. And Uranus coming in like the Tower card in Tarot to restructure foundations that are not secure, to restructure foundational things in your life that are maybe not sustainable for you in some way. And so this aspect can feel disruptive, and sometimes it is. Change is not always convenient. But I want you to be looking for, especially by this point, you probably have an idea of how Venus retrograde has been playing out in your life. And I made a whole other video about Venus retrograde that I will link below. But what themes have been coming up from July 22nd, when Venus stationed retrograde, to now, themes around love and relationships, your relationship dynamics, your sense of values and how you feel about yourself, your relationship to money and aesthetics and beauty and sensuality. What's been coming up here? And then Uranus is coming in and creating an impulse for change. Uranus is like creating that kind of like where maybe we've been wanting a change, and then Uranus is like yes, like this needs to happen now, or maybe creates a bit of or symbolizes the creation of a bit of disruption. So that's that. I'm curious how that lands with you. Now, also this week, What else do we have going on? Also this week we have the sun moving into Virgo. So happy birthday to my Virgo people. This is bringing a spotlight, the sun, into Virgo issues. So themes around healing and discernment and living in a way that is purposeful. This is really what Virgo is about. I think that Virgo can get we can have this kind of caricature of what Virgo is, in that it's about being overly analytical, really about the logic and the mind and details, and that Virgo can be critical. And I think that, of course, those are qualities that are manifestations of Virgo. And I think that it's kind of like a shortchanging of Virgo, because Virgo, like, yes, it is about being analytical and discerning. And Virgo is very process oriented. And I think that's where we kind of get into it's like about the details. But Virgo is also very much about healing and about the process of things being a ritual, and that the process of things is a healing function. And that Virgo brings so much presence and attention and awareness to things that in itself can be healing, whether that is therapeutic or like therapeutic in a human relationship, or whether that presence is reparative to a system that maybe has been out of balance or neglected in some way. And so I really want to emphasize that Virgo has this theme around healing through presence and healing through devotion. And so we all get to feel into that vibe. We get to feel into that sense of rigorous devotion. And especially we get a spotlight, the sun. The sun is a symbol of consciousness and awareness, and putting our attention towards something. Our attention is going to the house in our birth chart where Virgo is. So whether that is the 10th house of career, or the 7th house of partnerships, or the 4th house of home and family, it's one of the easiest ways to follow our focus for the month. And so also in Virgo this week, I'm sorry to say, we have Mercury retrograde happening. I know most of us don't like that, but the good news is that Mercury is in its own sign during this retrograde, which makes things a bit easier. So Mercury will be stationing retrograde at 21 degrees of Virgo. Mercury will be retrograde from August 23rd through September 15th. And so Mercury is a symbol of the mind, the analytical mind, our way of thinking about things in a more linear and logical type of fashion. It's also about communication. It is about divination. It's about business. It's about sharing ideas. It's about having a symbolic understanding of things, which is essentially divination. And so during this time from August 23rd to September 15th, we get to how do I say? We get to tend to the things that maybe have been on the back burner in our lives, especially things that involve technology, or things that require our logical focus. Especially like we talked about Virgo, right? Being process oriented. So Mercury is in the sign that is process oriented. So a really fabulous time to do anything that involves repairing or refreshing or revitalizing, and using that Virgo energy to bring a sense of presence to the things that maybe have been neglected, or that not even neglected, that maybe you just there hasn't been the time and the space to really dig into something and to make it the way that you want it to be, whether that is a house project or something operational in your work or your business, you know, repairing clothes, like stuff like this. Anything that is a thing that you want to bring new life to. This is all Mercury retrograde territory. And so this is very different because it's very, Mercury is more about the practical things in our lives and how we transmit or share ideas. And so this involves, you know, things like technology, websites, business dealings, etc. That's all Mercury stuff. And then Venus, so we're still in Venus retrograde, right? So Venus retrograde is more about looking about the interpersonal dynamics of things and our relationship to money. It's more about like how we feel about things, how we're interacting with things, and it's more about a relational focus and an experiential focus versus Mercury, which is kind of more about tools and the mundane things, and communication. And still, Mercury is about divination as well. So a really great time during Mercury retrograde to look at your meditation practice or your mindfulness practice, or work with a new sort of divination tool if that's something that you're interested in. Anything involving a spiritual or contemplative practice can be really to again like refresh that and to bring some new energy and life into that can be helpful. Okay, so speaking of divination, let's pull some cards for you. So as always, pulling 3 cards, you can, so I'm curious how all of this is landing for you, what's coming up as I talk about the astrology. And if there's a certain question or scenario, you can hold that in your awareness. Okay. Ooh, I like these for you. Okay. So card number 1 is the 4 of Swords. You can see this well. So the 4 of Swords is about rest and contemplation. It's about renewing yourself. And this card and this figure looks very restful. They're laying on their bed with their legs up the wall. It's one of my favorite yoga poses, and they have their kitten sitting on their belly. And I pulled this reversed too. So this card is really reminding me of the Mars opposite Neptune energy, where it benefits you to have some downtime, have some chill time. You know, I don't think that means don't do anything, unless that's what you want. Sounds great to me. But yeah, just to allow a little more space, a little more time. I'm also thinking about how Neptune is often associated with the feet, and this person has their feet up towards the sky. So like flipping things and just like totally, like you can't, when you're laying on your back with your feet up the wall, you can't do anything. There's no like productive thing that's happening. And so this card is a reminder that is what is needed now, that sense of restfulness. And that it's reversed means that can mean a couple different things. Maybe there's a resistance there, and that is not something that you can do. Maybe that's not practical in your life right now. And so I would say, you know, any little teeny ways that you can find to do that. And that it's reversed, it could also mean that the things that worked for you to relax, that used to work for you, are not working for you anymore. And so maybe there needs to be like, what is the new way? And maybe there's like an experimentation process around that this week, and what actually helps you feel at ease. And that it may be something different than you're used to. Okay. 10 of Cups is the second card. Like, what a sweet card. 10 of Cups is about celebration. It's about abundance and culmination and like really feeling super satisfied. Like so much, like this is such a lovely card. And I want to read the guidebook for this one in particular for some reason. So 10 of Cups. Cups are about emotions and relationships. So it's really like emotional satisfaction versus, you know, like material abundance or something like that. It's sort of like feeling really happy. Okay, 10 of Cups. And this deck is called Spells and Potions. No matter how much happiness you have, you should share it with someone. It is difficult to be happy alone. There is no one who reflects this state. Oh, interesting. Okay, see, this is why I like reading this, because sometimes I'm still getting familiar with this deck, and sometimes the little blurb is a bit different than the traditional Smith-Waite deck. Okay, last card. What is it? It is the Empress. Oh my gosh. 10 of Cups and then the Empress. Like, these are both cards that are about feeling a sense of fullness and satiation and completeness. The Empress is really about fertility and, you know, fertility like in all manner of ways, like really feeling like there's that life force inside of you, and feeling like you're nourished enough to bring new life into the world. And I think it's interesting that the figure in this card is just chilling with their feet up on the table there. They're just, you know, this is the thing with the Empress, is the Empress isn't like out there busting their ass, like working and proving themselves and like doing all this stuff. No, they're like very serene, and they're like in embodiment and being mode. They're in being versus doing. And that is a strong theme that I'm seeing in all of these cards, is it's more about being versus doing. And that feels very connected to the Mars-Neptune energy. And I would say even the Virgo to a certain extent as well. So it's like there's this need to like give yourself some time and space and to figure out how to do that in a way that is sustainable for you and that works for you. Now, everyone's life is different. Our life is different year to year, depending on what's happening and our resources, and that's totally understandable. And so figuring out what works for you now, not the ideal. So the other thing Neptune is about is the ideal. So, and Virgo too is having this high ideal. And so this is like, what can you do that you can actually do? And like not feeling bad about not, you know, doing this whole elaborate practice. So yeah, so doing the thing to like really give yourself some time and space, and that from that comes a sense of fullness and a sense of satisfaction that, interestingly, there's encouragement to share that with other people as well. And then from there comes that ability to create something new, to not just have your own life be abundant, but to create new life and to elaborate on what it is that you've started with. Really, really beautiful reading, really encouraging reading for you to take care of yourself and to know that there's more to come for you also, that like this is very like these cards are saying that you have a lot of resources and you have a lot of abundance that is going to be infused, not just from the outside, but from the inside out, when you allow yourself to relax and rest and get the nourishment that you need in the way that works for you. So I hope you like that. I hope you found it useful. Please let me know. I always love hearing from you. And I'm very excited to share with you that I will be teaching workshops and courses soon. So I have a lot of different courses and things that I'm planning. The next one that's coming up will be September 21st in the evening. I can't remember what time it is now, but I will be doing a workshop called A Workshop for Healers, the Psychopomp Function. And so this is a workshop that I've designed for folks in the helping healing field. So counselors, astrologers, spiritual practitioners, caregivers, teachers, anyone that is in a role where they're doing helping healing work. And this workshop is a synthesis of my thesis work exploring the psychopomp function, the guide of souls after death, and how that motif, that symbol of the guide of souls, can inform our work as healers and helpers and help us with some of the tough things, like having loving boundaries and recovering from burnout, and even ideally preventing burnout, and doing all of this, finding a way to channel our healing gifts in a way that prevents burnout and also doesn't have us in financial lack, that allows us to feel this really this 10 of Cups energy. So I'm really excited. It's going to be a 2-hour workshop, September 21st. You can find out more information on my website, theastropsyche.com. And if this is something that you're interested in, if you're in helping and healing work and you really want to bring more life and empowerment into your work, I would absolutely love to have you there. It would be such an honor. And I'm really excited to share this topic with you. And of course, I'm a psychotherapist and astrologer. If you're interested in working with me one-on-one, you can find out more about that on my website as well. Wishing you wonderful weeks, sending lots of love and wishes for you to have a most easeful week this coming week. All right, I'll see you soon. Bye.